So this morning I had a question for myself. I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about the looting and the rioting and all the things that's going on in the world and the chaos that we're in right now and people displaying guns and doing all this stuff and people getting hurt and people getting killed out there. And I was thinking to myself, is the looting and rioting wrong? That was my question to myself. Is the looting and the rioting wrong? And I think about situation to do compare. There's four areas that affect looting and rioting. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just saying there's four areas that will affect looting and rioting. One is police brutality. The other is politics or government. Education, what type of education are people getting? And jobs. Are we hiring jobs? Are we training people for jobs? That's stuff that will affect the looting and rioting long term and in the short term. And the reason why I say this is because I'm just going to give you one example. Let's say you work for a company. And in this company that you work, you're not treated well. You're not treated well. They don't respect you. The managers don't respect you. You're not getting along with your employees. What does that do for your morale? It brings your morale down. Most leaders and managers know this. It brings your morale down. How do you feel about that company? When you're being treated such a way, you're trying to give everything you have and you're treated a certain way. How do you feel about that company? You don't like the company. You're not going to be interested in the company. You're not going to be in with the goals. You're not going to care about the goals. You're just going to show up to get your paycheck, basically, so you can support yourself and your family. But anything else, you're not going to care. You're not going to care. But then the other question, do you have options? I work for a company. The company doesn't treat me right. Do I have options? I do. And my options are, I leave. I go to another company. I find a company that treats me right. Those are my options. I always have those options. But in society, when you're dealing with a very powerful entity such as police, government, education, and companies that hire, these companies are very powerful. What happens is they take away options, particularly the police. They take away people's options in communities. Like, we all should be protected equally under police. We all should be policed the same and equally. This should be that way. But there's some communities it's not the case. So when the police doesn't protect or police a certain community in a certain way, it takes away their options. I can't choose a different police officer to police me. Let's say I run into a police officer that's abusing me or whatever the situation is. I can't choose a different situation. I am stuck in that situation. And when I'm stuck in that situation, it creates anger, hostility, and resentment. I can't get out of it. If I work for a company and I don't like the company, I can leave. I have options. I don't have options with the police. So when the police abuse people, they're creating a potential situation for rioting, a potential situation for looting, because people in those situations won't care. They should have at least the basic protection from police in this country, and if they're not getting it, then they won't care. And you create these looters and these rioters, that mindset of looting and rioting. I don't believe in it. It's not correct, but I understand it. It's the same thing when you look at politics, government. If our politicians are using us, people of color, to get votes or to play one person against another, that creates distrust, that creates hostility, that hurts, because everyone is an American in this country. And we basically want the same things. We want to be able to work, protect our families. We don't want, crimes against us, whatever it is. We want the same things. But then when you get politicians up there and they're creating this division and giving people permission to create this division, well, then that creates the same scenario that I was talking about in the job, where if I'm in a job and something like that happens, I could leave. But here I am in my country and this happens. I can't leave my country. I don't want to leave my country, but I can't leave. I have nowhere else to go. You're trapped. We can vote. That helps, but you're trapped. So when you're trapped, again, it creates that looter, rioting mentality because you have nothing else to do. There's no other way that you can make your point known. Same with education. most of us should have the opportunity for education. We just should. But there's situations, there's areas where you don't have the same opportunity or support in education. So that's going to create a person going out into the world who's not as educated, who can't get the job, which creates frustration. And then the same thing with companies. Companies have a great opportunity of hiring people, but if they hire people, first of all, it's harder for people of color to get jobs than people of non-color. It is just harder. But if you get into a job and they abuse you, or they put you in a corner, they don't utilize your skill, then it creates this mindset. If you can't go anywhere, if you can't get a job, at every job you go, it's the same thing, how they treat people of color or whoever, then it just creates this mindset of looting, this mindset of rioting, because you have nowhere else to go. You can't go anywhere else. I remember there was a situation, and we all can do something about this. We all can do something about this. Whether it's the levels I just mentioned, the 4 levels I mentioned, or on an individual level. There was one time there was a couple years ago, I was at a gas station. I was filling up my tank, and this gentleman drove up in a little pickup truck on the other side of the gas that I was, and he approached me, and he had asked me if I could help him out and just give him $5 for gas. Now at that point, I have choices to make with this person, because first of all, I'm getting my gas. I'm not responsible for anybody else. I don't have to help anybody else, right? So I don't have to do that. That's number one. 2, I could have been real nasty to him too. Like, what do you mean $5? You don't have $5? Don't you have a job? Don't you this? Don't you that? I mean, I could have done those things. I wouldn't do those things. That's not my personality. But I'm saying I could have shamed him. I could have done all sorts of things. I could even just said no. And just shamed him, just said no. I mean, it's just $5, but shame him and say no. I have these options. But I'm looking at this gentleman, and he's trying to get to work or whatever he's trying to get. And for whatever reason, he didn't have money for gas, and he pulled up at this gas station. He's in dire straits right now. He's at the gas pump, and he has no money for gas. So what I do, I helped him, and I made my choice immediately. It was this instant. I made my choice. I didn't ask him about a situation. I didn't question him. I didn't shame him. I didn't do a damn thing. I just said enthusiastically, absolutely, I'll help you put gas in your vehicle, because I could do it, because I had the money to do it. I'm not rich, but I had that money for gas. I could do it. So I just walked over to his gas station, his gas pump. I put my credit card number in, and I walked away. I didn't check and see how much he put in there. I didn't ask him anything. I just walked away. And these are the things that we can do to eliminate this hopelessness within each other on an individual level. He's struggling, and on that day I'm not struggling. I've had struggles in my life, but on that day I'm not struggling. I was able to help him. He wasn't asking for everything I had. He was just asking for a few dollars for gas. I have a few dollars for gas. I gave it to you. So this is how we can help. If I didn't do that, let's say, who knows what that might have done? Who knows what trigger that could have done as far as creating hopelessness in his life and his day and with his family and with his job. Maybe he would have lost his job because he couldn't have got there. Who knows? But he felt comfortable enough to approach me, and I helped him. I didn't ask any questions. I helped him. This is what we got to keep in mind when we're dealing with the looters and the rioters. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. There's a reason for it. We can't sit there in the safety of our homes, the safety in our chairs, and look at it and say, oh, that's them. They're acting crazy. They're doing this and that. No. If they're doing it, there's a reason for it. Some people may be criminals for sure. But if they're doing it though, we got to keep in mind, there may be a reason for it. There may be a hopelessness there that they just can't get past. There may be a situation where they just feel trapped and they don't have choices. And we as a society have to eliminate those choices with them. We have to eliminate those choices with them so they're not trapped. And how we do it is what I mentioned to you before. Equal policing, education, politics, not separation, jobs, hiring and training, and then how we treat one another when we're out there. If we can do those things, then what we do is we will eliminate opportunities or people wanting to riot or loot when an opportunity presents themselves.